ever feel like there's this whole hidden world right under our noses? It's kind of like we see the surface, but
Yeah,
we don't really know what's going on underneath, you know?
right.
Well, get this, today we're diving deep into the world of Social Security inspectors. And let me tell you, it's
Yeah.
got secrets, it's got surprises.
Lots of twists and turns.
And it's way more interesting than I thought it would be when we first started looking into this.
It's true. It's true. It's one of those things that people hear about and they think, oh, Social Security.
Right, boring.
Yeah, pensions, retirement funds sounds kind of dull, right?
And, like, where's the excitement?
Exactly. But it's really not like that at all. We're talking real detective work here. Uncovering fraud,
Wow.
making sure people get what they deserve. It's pretty high-stakes stuff.
You sent us a ton of sources on this.
I did.
And I gotta be honest, I thought it was gonna be all, like, spreadsheets and regulations, you know?
Yeah, I can see why you'd think that.
But this is fascinating.
It really is.
So, like, for anyone listening who pictures a Social Security inspector as, like, someone just stamping forms all day.
Right, just another bureaucrat.
Yeah. Break it down for us. What do they really do?
Okay, so picture this. We're talking investigations that go deep, really deep, examining benefit applications with a fine-tooth comb,
Okay.
digging into company payrolls,
Ooh.
making sure wages and expenses are all above board, even looking into employee complaints.
Really? So they're like the employee's advocate in some cases.
Exactly. They're there to make sure the system works how it's supposed to,
Yeah.
and no one's getting the short end of the stick.
I mean, that's way more FBI than I ever pictured.
Okay.
Like, the source material actually gave this crazy example about an inspector who uncovered thousands of dollars in unpaid wages.
No way.
Yeah, for a bunch of restaurant workers. The owner was, like, trying to cheat the system, reporting way fewer hours than the employees actually worked.
That is so common, unfortunately, and it's called wage theft.
Wage theft, that's awful.
It is, and it happens more often than you think. But this story really shows the impact these inspectors can have. They're like financial detectives, right? Piecing together the clues to right those wrongs.
Okay, so it's clear this isn't your typical 9-to-5 desk job.
Oh, absolutely not.
You need a certain kind of person, right? Someone who can handle the pressure, the investigations, maybe even a little danger.
You're not wrong.
What?
You know, it's funny, when I was going through the sources you provided, one of the top skills listed wasn't what I expected at all.
Oh, really? What was it?
Active listening.
Wait, hold on. I thought we were talking about catching white-collar criminals, not leading therapy sessions.
Oh, right. But think about it. To get to the bottom of a potential fraud case, you have to be able to read people as well as you can read a financial statement.
Yeah.
The sources actually mentioned this case where an inspector noticed an employer kept avoiding eye contact when they asked about a pay discrepancy. Just that tiny detail.
Wow.
But it raised a red flag, and it helped uncover a major case of wage theft. So it's all connected. Seeing the subtle cues, connecting the dots on paper and in person.
That's fascinating.
It really is.
Sounds like you got to be part psychologist, part detective, part numbers whiz.
And maybe a little bit of a mind reader, too.
Right. But, okay, what about the reality of the job? We've talked about the excitement.
Right.
Every job has its pros and cons.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are we talking about here?
Right. Got to take the good with the bad, right?
Exactly. So spill the beans. What are the perks of the job?
Well, you've got that sweet government job stability.
Oh, yeah.
The benefits are usually pretty great,
Right.
and the pay is competitive. Those are some pretty major pluses right there.
I mean, you're telling me I can have a job with awesome benefits, A&D, like fight crime. Where do I sign up?
It's definitely got its appeal.
Okay, but seriously, that kind of stability can be life-changing for a lot of folks.
Oh, absolutely. It takes a lot of the stress out of life, knowing your job is secure.
For sure. But what about that other side of the coin we talked about, the not-so-glamorous stuff? The sources did mention stress, heavy workloads.
You're right, it's not all sunshine and roses, that's for sure.
So what makes this job so demanding?
Well, you've got to remember, these inspectors, they're dealing with people's livelihoods, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal.
So the stakes are high. The source material actually mentioned the emotional toll this work can take,
Really?
especially when you're dealing with cases of fraud or like straight up deceit. It takes a certain kind of person to handle that day after day.
Makes sense. It's one thing to like investigate numbers on a spreadsheet, but when you're talking about the real life impact of those numbers on real people.
Exactly. It becomes much more personal.
So you need empathy and a thick skin. Okay, so let's talk about the skills and education you need for this kind of role.
Okay, sure.
Do you need to be like a law whiz with a degree in forensic accounting just to get your foot in the door?
You know, it's interesting. The qualifications might actually surprise you. While understanding law and finance is definitely important,
Yeah.
the sources we looked at, they actually suggested that a pretty wide range of academic backgrounds could be successful here, like a bachelor's degree in criminal justice,
Okay.
social work, even something like psychology.
Psychology. Really?
Yeah,
Okay, now I'm seeing the connection to that whole active listening thing.
right. It all ties together.
But I'm still curious, how does psychology like translate into crunching numbers and uncovering financial discrepancies?
Oh, remember, this job is about more than just numbers. It's about understanding what makes people tick, you know,
Okay, yeah.
their motivations, their behaviors. For example, having a background in psychology, that can be super valuable when you're interviewing someone suspected of fraud. Being able to read their body language,
Right.
pick up on those subtle cues,
Fascinating.
building rapport, that can be just as important as analyzing those financial records.
Wow, it's like you're putting together a puzzle, using like hard data and human insights to see the whole picture.
Exactly.
So you need street smarts and book smarts for this gig.
100%.
Okay, so let's say you've got the education, the skills, the drive. What's next? What does the actual career path look like? So what's a typical career trajectory look like? Is there like a set path for Social Security inspectors, or are there different ways to move up?
Well, the sources you gave me actually lay out a pretty clear progression,
Okay.
starting with entry-level positions, and
Excellent.
then you work your way up to those senior inspector roles.
Oh, cool. So there's definitely room to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, with each step, you're taking on more responsibility,
Mm.
you're handling more complex cases,
Yeah.
and naturally you have the potential for greater impact.
That's awesome. So, like, for someone just starting out, say, an entry-level inspector,
hmm
what would their day-to-day actually look like?
Well, they'd be right there in the thick of it, you
Oh.
know, assisting the senior inspectors with investigations,
Right.
audits, that kind of thing. Think reviewing applications,
Mm-hmm.
looking for inconsistencies,
Right.
gathering evidence, maybe even sitting in on interviews with claimants or employers.
Oh, wow.
It's all about learning the ropes at that stage.
Yeah, getting that hands-on experience.
Exactly. Building that solid foundation in Social Security law and, of course, those essential investigative techniques.
So it's like a real-world crash course in Social Security investigation.
That's a great way to put it.
So then what? You move up to, like, junior inspector.
That's right. As a junior inspector, you get a lot more autonomy.
Oh, okay.
You might be leading your own investigations based on complaints that come in. Maybe you're digging deeper into those financial records.
Right?
And you're probably working a lot closer with legal professionals on cases that could end up in litigation.
Okay, so now we're talking serious business.
It definitely gets more intense.
What does it actually look like to, like, collaborate with legal professionals as a Social Security inspector?
Well, it runs the gamut. You might be gathering evidence to support a case.
Right.
Maybe you're preparing reports for prosecutors.
No.
Or even testifying in court as an expert witness.
Wow, no pressure.
Right.
So it's not just about, like, catching the fraudsters, it's about building a rock-solid case against them, too.
Exactly.
That's intense. No wonder the source material mentioned, like, strong analytical skills.
Oh, for sure.
And obviously communication skills, too, are super important.
Absolutely essential. You need to be able to explain those complex financial matters
Yeah.
in a way that anyone can understand, especially if you're in court.
Right. Exactly. So then at the tippy top, you've got your senior Social Security inspector. What do they do?
Well, at that level, you're not only leading those really complex investigations,
Right.
but you're also mentoring those junior inspectors coming up.
Nice.
You're developing strategies to combat all those new types of fraud that pop up.
Oh, yeah, I bet that keeps you on your toes.
It certainly does. And of course, you're collaborating with other agencies like law enforcement on those really high-profile cases.
Wow. Talk about a leadership role. You have a real impact, not just on individual cases, but on shaping how the whole system works. But let's be real, how do you get to that level? Is it just time on the job? Or are there things aspiring inspectors can do to, like, boost their careers?
Time and experience are definitely key.
Yeah.
But those sources you sent, they also highlighted the importance of professional certifications.
Certifications, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what you know can be as important as how long you've been doing it.
That's right. These certifications, they demonstrate a real commitment to professional development.
Okay,
You're staying up to date, you've got specialized knowledge that can be a major advantage in a competitive field.
that makes sense. So which certifications are we talking about here? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, one of the biggest ones is the Certified Fraud Examiner, or CFE.
Okay.
It's globally recognized,
Mhm.
specifically for fraud investigation professionals.
Wow. So like the gold standard.
Pretty much. Then there's the Certified Forensic Accountant, or CRT-FA. That one's laser focused on the nitty-gritty of those financial investigations.
So for the real number crunchers out there.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the more general certifications, like the Certified Internal Auditor or CIA.
CIA, are we talking spies now?
Not quite, but that one can be really valuable for anyone working in those audit and compliance roles.
Right, right, of course. Okay, so it sounds like there's always something new to learn, a new skill to master in this line of work, which I'm sure keeps things interesting.
Absolutely. It's a constantly evolving field.
At the end of the day, though, it's not just about climbing that career ladder, right? It's about making a real difference in the world.
You hit the nail on the head. One of the things that really struck me from the source material was the discussion of ethical considerations.
Oh, interesting. Like moral dilemmas.
Exactly. Social Security inspectors often find themselves in these really complicated situations where there's no easy answer.
So it's not always black and white.
Right. Like, imagine you uncover a case where an elderly person who's clearly struggling to make ends meet, they maybe slightly misrepresent their income so they can qualify for additional benefits,
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one.
right? Or a single parent who's just trying to keep a roof over their kids' heads and they bend the rules a little bit out of desperation. These are the situations that require real compassion.
For sure.
You need a deep understanding of the system, but you also have to be committed to finding solutions that are fair and humane.
That's a powerful thought and a perfect note to end on, I think. It's not just about crunching numbers and enforcing the rules, it's about navigating the very human side of the system. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us. This has been eye-opening.
My pleasure. It's always fascinating to, like you said, take these deep dives into the intricacies of these careers and explore how they impact our lives in ways we don't always see.